Whoever you are, whoever you think you are, believe that you're also a silent princess. Your name is Ida. Your journey is one through a forgotten landscape of twisting staircases and morphing castles, atop floating stones defiantly crossing an angry sea, within dimly lit caverns, cobwebbed with ruins M.C. Escher could only grasp at in a dream state.
That's a description of Monument Valley, a mobile indie game featured in the 3rd season of House of Cards. And the description is spot on, by the way. Monument Valley is a spectacular game. But what is it doing on a show about politics? What did the writers see in this little princess that compelled them to write her in? The answer is Frank Underwood. My name is Trip, and you're watching Theme Addict.
I tend to play shoot 'em ups. The indie games don't really interest me. I need adrenaline and action. But when I read this, I had to try it.
And try it he did. And because of the show, so did I. In my playthroughs of this game, I saw many odd resemblances between the Silent Princess and Frank's stories. The first similarity comes in an early cutscene, where a ghost describes the game's environment as the Valley of Men. She goes on to say that all that remains are our monuments stripped of their glories, which perfectly encapsulates House of Cards' attitude towards DC itself. DC is a literal valley of monuments that celebrate a government by the people, for the people. But House of Cards shows us the dark side of our government, where people like Frank Underwood will do almost anything to get power. But the similarities go beyond the two characters' environments. In Chapter 5 of Monument Valley, we are introduced to the Crow people, whose only purpose is to get in your way and squawk at you. If the Silent Princess is Frank, then these Crow people are all the characters around him. His advisors, his enemies, foreign dignitaries, and even his own wife seem like just another squawking crow standing in his way. Later in the game, we're introduced to the Totem, who's described as a friend. While the Silent Princess continues on successfully at the end of the level, the Totem is disposed of. Now, I'm not sure if Frank really has any friends, but this is something that he's done multiple times throughout the series. First, to Peter Russo, and then...
Bam.
Now for one of our final levels, the Descent, in which there is nobody left to forgive us. Notice how our princess ascends the stairs and picks up a flower. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Later on in the level, we once again meet the Ghost of Glory's Pass, to tell us that sacred geometry was our pride and our downfall. But hey, at least we'll always have our monuments in the valley. So what is this sacred geometry? It's the ability that the princess has to change her surroundings in order to reach her destination. In the same way, Frank employs a sort of sacred geometry in his own life, always controlling his environment and using the people around him to accomplish his goals. The show's title would lead us to believe that Frank's schemes are like a house of cards, where he must make one calculated move after another to achieve his goal, which I think is true for the first season of the show. Following...
We are not nominating you for Secretary of State.
We can see Frank mentally building his house of cards, his grand scheme of revenge while smoking cigarettes.
I know what I have to do.
Good.
We'll have a lot of nights like this. Making plans. Very little sleep.
But by season 3, Frank's house has been built. He's the POTUS. What he does now resembles the gameplay of Monument Valley much more than simply building a house of cards. Oh yeah, about that flower. So as it turns out, the Silent Princess was carrying it to place it on a grave at the bottom of the Descent. But considering Ida and Frank are very similar characters, I don't know if this is as innocent as it might appear. So as it turns out, the princess's use of sacred geometry saved the Crow people, and they all learned to fly again. I'm sure Frank would be happy to wear the crown and use his political prowess to save us all, just as long as we stay out of his way. As to whether his outcomes will justify his means as the princesses did, Well, we'll just have to wait and see.